Thank you, Leopoldo. And I also want to thank you for creating Poetry Bridge and poems and tales, as he says, and bringing this community together in West Seattle, the opportunity to mutually share our work in this community. And I'm going to introduce Bo and that beautiful woman back there, Noelle, in a moment. But what I'm going to do is, this has been billed as Life in a Jar. It's a project I've been working on for about a year and a half. And I'm going to read a few items from Life in a Jar that Bo and Noelle are not going to read. A couple of poems, then they will read. It's going to take them about 20 minutes. And then following that, we're going to open it up for about 5 minutes of question and comment, if you have any. And because I'm trying to get some direction for this work. And so your participation at the end would be very much appreciated. And I find often that questions clarify my thinking more than anything else. Noelle. Yeah, we're doing mine first.
Right, but then do an open mic section and then do...
Oh, and then do yours.
Part at the end, because it sounds like he's having some major traffic trouble. He might be a little...
Oh, boy.
So...
Okay.
We'll dominate.
We'll see where we are when it comes down. So the first four pieces are from Life in a Jar. Question in the back. I meant for the questions later, but... Oh, okay. Risky business. People go places they ought not. At least some people do. They underestimate the risk of night or the risk of trusting strangers. Some people dance in a bar and become noticed. They dance until the bar closes. They do that, you know. Late at night in the big city, bars close. They invited her to an after-hours party. The bartender called her over. Looking at her over the top rim of his glasses, as her father might, he said, "I'm not sure you belong here, and I know for damn sure you don't belong with them. They will use you and abuse you, hurt you and take all your money. Maybe worse. Don't go." The next day, people told the officers they never saw her leave the bar with anyone. In fact, they never saw her there at all. Not even the bartender saw her. And the color of her skin had nothing to do with it. It's called Alice Unchained. Terror crawls over her face. She walks along the highway in white, oversized underwear. The voices in her head speak terror to her. Being almost naked on a public street feeds her terror. Being lost puts terror in her. Not remembering how she got on this highway terrorizes her. Walking in Seattle, she thinks she must be near St. Louis by now. But she sees no familiar landmarks. Cars slow down as they pass, then move on. The drivers see her craziness and do not stop. They know that stopping would seriously complicate the day. It begins to rain, but then that's what it does in Seattle. This is called True Story. "And that's a true story," he said, taking another swig of pale ale. He chuckled. shook his head from side to side, affirming the truth and the humor of it all. This gesture pulled more laughter, knowing smiles, nods from his fans of his drunken genius aura. They nodded and laughed whenever he nodded and laughed. They drank more beer each time he drank more ale. Even so, they knew that their young, unpracticed bodies would never match his intake. It worked so well, that nodding and head swinging, that he pulled another gulp of ale from his pint glass and began swinging his head from side to side, still chuckling. Yeah, he knew how to do this nodding and swinging of the head thing in such a way that you could relive with him the marvelous tale that he had just told. It was worth sucking yet more chuckles of approval from his acolytes and fellow swiggers of pitchers of ale and beer. Speaking of pitchers, that was when he pitched forward, hitting his forehead on the corner of the watery table before slamming into the concrete floor where he died. One moment his bleary eyes seemed drunken but alive, his face flush from telling stories. The next moment, his eyes were empty and he was sallow as pale ale. And that's a true story. You're going to get later in the evening 3 Bob stories. This will be your first introduction to Bob. And someone suggested that on your programs that guy in the jar is Bob. I think that's probably true. With both feet on the floor and sitting on the bed, his belly between his legs, old Bob wondered where everything went. It didn't used to be this way, he said to himself. I used to be able to find my things easy. I could find them and show them off if I wanted. Now, I haven't seen anything in a couple of years. From what I can tell, they aren't even the same thing. It's as if they're not even mine. It's as if my things are leaving the planet before I am. By the time I die, I won't have a thing. Old Bob shrugged, looked out the window, then at his crusty, yellowed bare feet. On the other hand, he thought, I don't need so much anymore. Maybe a hug, a sunny day. You come to a time in life when you don't need things the way you used to. He put the revolver back in the drawer. I wish Noelle were reading this one because she would really knock it out of the ballpark, but it got assigned otherwise, so it's my turn. It's called Shot in the Dark. She told me that she didn't know it would go down that way. When she dressed to kill, she didn't mean it literally. She only wanted to be exciting. That's it, she said. Exciting. So what did you do? I asked. I knocked on the door, walked in, and let the night happen. You let the night happen? Yeah, I wanted to know what it felt like to be wild. Really, don't look at me that way. The place was full of people I didn't know, loud music, laughing, and I saw a couple dancing sexy, like really sexy. And nothing. I had a few drinks, met some people, danced. It didn't happen until very late. What happened? There was a shot, a gunshot. People screamed. A man came out of the another room. He called me a bitch and said it was my fault. Then he left. Everyone was leaving. A man in a back room kept saying, "Oh, Jesus! Oh, Jesus! Oh, Jesus!" But that's not the worst part. "What's that?" I asked. "I can't remember what happened next. I can't even remember how I got home." Okay, enough drama for a while. We're going to get into some erotica. Don't worry, mine's pretty tame. First one's called The Aspen Affair. We're done with Life in a Jar now. We're going someplace else. Aspen Affair. If a tree could say, "Hey there, big boy," it would be an aspen. She would say it while shimmying in the wind beneath an empty western sky. Her gently rounded leaves would wiggle and wave for a man with an eye and a heart and a love for the land. Her tender branches would bend, embrace the breeze, and reach for the rush that comes in the evening warm. Pines are spiritual, the way they moan and wail in the mountain night. Cottonwoods jabber like crows, murders of vulgar green crows. But the sensual aspen, the gently seductive aspen, knows me too well. She asks me to stay, and I put my money down. We live part-time in Seattle and part-time in Kashmir. And last fall in Kashmir, we rushed down to the nursery and bought 3 aspens. Okay. A couple more erotica. We've got time for them. The Crickets of Mission Creek. Mission Creek runs across the back of our property in Kashmir. These crickets on Mission Creek, oh, wait a minute.